And I think we're ready to go. Yep. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the first premiere session of the podcast from the Joshua Forest podcast. I'd like to say thank you for everyone who has liked the page so far, starting to interact with me, to actually getting some booking sessions going around. You know, it's really, really a good thing to see. I'm also liking the appreciations of the complimentaries about people how saying it's all good that, you know, I'm doing something like this. I think the reason I need to do this is because the underground scenery needs a big attention, especially where there's this whole many bands that don't get the recognition they deserve. So with that being said, this is going to be the first session, and I am very honored to have Mr. Gore here today. He is one part of the band from his own project called Carnifloor, and he is also the guitarist for Korpse. And I am enjoying both bands that he's doing, you know, the excellent project bands that he's in, especially Carnifloor. So, Mr. Gore, it is great to have you here, bro. How are you doing?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, man. I'm doing all fine, actually. Quite busy with 100 projects, but all in good way.
Yeah, no, that's excellent, man. So just get on to parts where I'm going to ask you about where do you become a guitarist when it comes to like the music scenery? Did you actually think you was going to be wanting to be a guitarist at all, or did you think it was just like?
No, actually not. In first I wanted to be a drummer, to be honest, but then my parents were like, "No way, we're not going to get a drum kit in the house. Like, yeah, just you better start playing guitar." And then in the end, I'm actually happy that I picked guitar because you have to carry way less shit than a drummer does.
That's actually true.
That's one plus point. But yeah, besides that, I like it. It's I play for, I'm not sure how many years now, probably around 12 or longer, maybe 15, I think. Wow. Something like that. So yeah, it's just become a whole part of my life, and keep doing it. I love it, especially playing live.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there is a certain degree with your, I noticed your little riff comparison, because when you do like Carnifloor or maybe Korpse, you use only 4 frets instead of like the whole guitar frets of the whole 23 frets. So what was the idea behind it? Are you thinking that it's a big challenge for you, or do you think it was just like, it's easy?
It just fits more to the style of music, I guess. Like, I can play on more than 4 frets. And the Carnifloor stuff actually has like a lot of more riffing than Korpse does, because Korpse is just based on like super simple slamming stuff, and yeah, for that you don't really need to go higher and do all the fret tapping and stuff like that. But I definitely, when I started out playing guitar, I definitely played more solos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in the end, if you want to play more stuff in that kind of genre, then it gets limited like that. But
yeah,
also in the new music that I'm releasing, there is like way more higher frets, so you can look forward to that.
Oh, definitely. I am going to be looking forward to the new music that you're going to be doing with all the bands that you're doing, you know. I noticed as well that you're in another project band or two. Is that correct? Just to clarify?
Yeah, that's right. I got Foes. It's called Fuck Off Eat Shit, as a grindcore band, which I just started with the drummer from Korpse, Martin.
Yep.
Just to have an idea, like, fuck it, let's write something like Last Days of Humanity meets Jig Eye kind of stuff. And yeah, that worked out pretty well. We just sat down a couple drunken evenings and wrote an EP of 15 minutes. It's out now on Antwerp Records as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then later I joined Sajil. It's a project from Saudi Arabia, actually. A friend of mine from there. He's the mastermind behind that. And I started doing vocals for that when I was actually started mixing everything. And he still needed a vocalist, so I thought like, well, I can probably help out with that. So then I also became a singer.
No, that's very, very talented way to do things, you know, because you do vocals for like Gore, and then, you know, you're just only a guitarist for Korpse. But no, there's always a good thing to have a variety of challenges or opportunity when it comes to being a musician. Like, I would have preferred if I was actually just a guitarist and not just do vocals. But sometimes it's nice to add that extra style, especially with whatever genre you actually do. So am I able to ask? Are we going to get any new music release this upcoming year with any of the bands that you're doing, or not really until next year? Because obviously with this pandemic going around, it's best to do it next year, for example.
You can definitely look forward to new music this year. With Korpse at the moment, we did record everything. We're just waiting on the final details, but there's no sure way to say when it will be released.
Yeah.
I really hope it will be this year, but if it gets delayed to next year, it's also a possibility, I think. But that's for Korpse. For Carnifloor, the new album will be here this year, definitely.
Yep.
End of the month, there will be an actual, cool preview about that. I can't tell you much more about that, but something big will be dropping. So that's definitely something. Then with Sigil, we just released our first EP. It's called Cyclopean Megaliths. It's a 3-track EP. Yeah, it's interesting names. 3-track EP.
Definitely sounds
and it's actually a bit more in the. Sorry.
No, it's cool. What I'm going to do by the end of the sessions, I'm going to leave links for any pages that people need to go and check, especially bands that you're in, especially with the latest materials. I'll leave them down in the description where they can find them, if it's in Bandcamp or whether it's in Spotify, whether it's in iTunes, anywhere, YouTube, I don't know. I mean, I'll do stuff like that. Even if you hit me up and be like, yo, this is that, put it out there. I'll be like, I will do that for you, definitely. But yeah, I definitely want to ask you some opinions actually as well, because with this whole mainstream attention, it's a little bit different, because when it comes to like mainstream media, they say about this whole underground music scenery, it's a bit of a letdown, a bit of a dry attention, that they don't need to go down to the underground scenery about listening to bands that need recognition or need some attention. So basically, I need to ask is, do you really think the underground scenery locally, like in Germany or Netherlands or even in Europe, is getting a big reputation, even in worldwide as well? Because like in festivals, I go to Death East Open Air in Germany, is always a very big recognition, big crowds. I get a lot of fan base with Europe fans compared to like the UK fans. Obviously, there's a bit of a mixture variety with music genres when it comes to like brutal death metal, whether it comes to hardcore, whether it comes to grind, for example. Really, do you really think the underground scenery is still there, or do you think it's kind of like going a little bit missing because people are not really interested anymore because it's all like the same?
I think it's actually still there. For that Feast example, they have a lot of cool new underground bands every year. Also last year, I've seen many new bands that really came up fastly, and then I think that Feast is really a good place to figure out those kind of bands. And also a lot of other festivals. For example, there's Infeast, where we played earlier this year in Lithuania, underground festival with grind, death and slam, and lots of underground bands. Not only the newest, but also more known underground bands, because obviously the festivals also need to get some big names to get people going there.
Yeah.
But I think that underground scene is definitely still there, and it's definitely still possible to get your name out there.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely, because when it comes to like label companies, they definitely want to go for bands that are going to be a hit, when it comes to making money, making marketing go accurate. There are bands out there that I think once upon a time they were really underground. They were not really recognized. I mean, there were bands like Extermination, Dismemberment, Disentombed. There'd be bands like those that actually were, wasn't getting the big recognition until they signed label companies, or, fans in the variety of genre fan base, they were actually quite intrigued about how the music was playing. So it's kind of like, it is a mystery, but sometimes when I see it, it's, I think there is a fan base, definitely, especially in Europe. There's definitely always going to be a fan base in Europe, most definitely. Wherever you go, there's always going to be something. But in the UK, I think UK is kind of like a challenge because we don't get all these very, very nice bands that we get all the time because it costs a lot of money for fees, the flights and the, you know, all that stuff, accommodation, fuel, and all, or whatever when it comes to promoting shows as well. So really, I think it's kind of like easy when it comes to the American fans would be saying, oh, you know, these European fans get the good music and, you know, they get the good shows, where European fans would be like, oh, look at the American fans, they do this, they do that, rah, 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 rah. You know, so there's always most definitely really, really decent bands everywhere in the music world. You look at America, you've got some really, really good bands that are playing over there. They've got good fan base over there. I think in Asia, there's kind of like the very, very good ones. Indonesia is really good as well. They love Brutal Death Metal and all that stuff over there for sure. So it's kind of like a mystery, but I think with that mystery, it always becomes a very intriguing thing as well. But with that being said, with this whole underground scenery, can it really affect the band's expectations? Because with the band's expectations, bands need a good fan base to keep going. They need money to actually keep funding the support and actually making new music, merchandise, shows, touring, festivals, and all that sort. Do you really think the underground scenery is going to be a piece of cake, or do you really think it's going to be a struggle? Because I really believe that when it comes to underground scenery, you need to have that luck to actually get that big recognition.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a part of luck, but also it's like working really hard, you know, because it just doesn't falls on your lap just like that. Gonna have to work hard for it and just do a lot of shows. Like when we either started out with Korpse, we had the luxury that we get asked by a lot of places and festivals to play, and we just said yes to everything. Like, okay, we'll go to check for €100, fuck it, let's do it, and the rest of the money we just pay yourself just to get our name out. And then when you look at that over the years, we definitely made quite an impact with playing everywhere. And then in that way, we got raised some money to record the new albums, and we get a bit better quality, because actually the first album was totally done DIY by ourselves, even the mix. And yeah, if you compare that to the stuff we release now, it's definitely like a big change from the last 6 years ago since we first released anything. And yeah, just like that, you need the money to get your stuff going, or a lot of contacts, and also be aware what the people want, you know. Like I think especially in the whole brutal death scene, people like if you don't change too much, like if you're gonna do something totally different with your band, then you will lose a big fan base. I've seen that with a lot of bands who tried something totally different, and it's like, yeah, but then it could be a different band, you know, for example. So yeah, I definitely think you should stick a bit more to your own kind of material. But to get back to your question, it's definitely still possible to get your name out there. It's just hard work, what I said, and also be lucky, build up connections with a lot of people, send your music to everyone, and play a lot of shows.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you got to have that luck, because sometimes luck is a thing where it can go in a good way or it can go in a very, very bad road, especially when it comes to touring as well. Obviously, a lot of touring becomes a lot of dedication, a lot of time and a lot of money to put people's health and being as well aside. And that's going to add the next question, basically, is do fans actually see the expectations where, let's say, big decent bands come into shows locally, there's not enough fans that actually come to the shows because excuse reason, let's just say that it's just like it's a Monday. Nobody's going to come out on a Monday, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
and they're going to be like, oh, well, we're not going to come into the show because it's Monday, you know, and much as I want to see the band, or the ticket prices are too high, do the fans not really see the perspective? Or, like, I don't know what it's like in Europe. Do the fans actually, do they come in a big number? Because I think in London, like in specific venues, there has been like big crowded events, but I think it depends how that works as well. I think when it comes to ticket pricing, like, you've got to have the right price to actually do it. But I suppose it depends on the band's value and the band's payment as well, because especially when it comes to travel and everything, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to cost a lot of money. Are there a big fan base in Europe where there's going to always be a big crowd when you could do shows, or not really?
I think it really depends on like which kind of country, and definitely also depends on how big the name of the band is and how people feel in general on that day. Like, if you really want to see a band, you're just gonna put everything aside and you go there, right? Like, for example, if there's like a really cool band coming, let's say Decrepit Birth, for example.
Yeah.
I had seen them one time on Neurotic Death Fest and was like, fuck, this is the sickest thing ever. Next time they come, I want to see it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how many years have passed, and it's like, they're not coming anymore. So when they will come at some point, it doesn't matter if it's going to be a Monday or a Sunday. You're going to be there because you want to see the band.
Yeah.
Because that's what it all is about. You want to see a band live. Otherwise, you can also stay home and listen to the CD. But I also think that in Europe, some countries, they are a bit more spoiled with like that bigger bands come there more often.
Yeah.
And that's why they don't pay that much attention to the smaller bands or the underground scene, for that matter. And also definitely the location. Like, if you're going to play in a bar where everybody's going to be every Saturday anyway, then it doesn't really matter if people will show up or not, because they will be there. Maybe they just they're not coming there to your music, but they will be there. So there's a lot of places like that in Holland, for example. In Germany, it's really good. I think all the shows that I've been here so far since I lived here, always could support many people. Even on like weekdays. But then again, it really depends.
I think for me, it's going to have to be in a condition where I have a day off the next day. You know, I can't come to do the work. I can't go to the show all in one day, because it really, really tires you out. And I know for a fact many musicians will probably do that as well. They'll be thinking, oh, we've got to play a show on the Tuesday and we've got to go to work on the Tuesday. So it's going to be a fucking time consuming, you know. It's tiring for people. We're all human beings as well, you know.
Yeah.
Have to put that into consideration for sure. But I like the idea that there is an optimism where I would definitely go anytime, any place, anywhere. It's just nowadays it all costs a lot of money, and you know it's going to take a lot of time in your life, and especially when, like, for example, Thursdays, my only days off is, like, at the moment it's Monday and Thursday. So if I actually went to a show, it has to be like a day where I'm going to have to be off on a Monday or Thursday. Thursday at the moment is just becoming a nightmare for me, because today I'm obviously doing the podcast, and then I've got to do like a session meeting about 1 o'clock in the morning. It's just, you know, sleep is not my best friend on the first day, and my body hates me for that. That's for sure. But then I've got to work about 5. I've got to leave about 5:15 on the Friday morning. So it's life, you know. But it's also dedication. You know, you got to have that dedication to actually go to shows. You've got to have that dedication to have the time to put your effort in as well. I've been to a number of shows where it was like, I said to myself, it was Easter periods, Christmas holiday periods, or whatever. It is really time consuming for sure. And I really hate that. I really hate the idea that it takes a lot of time to actually go to a show, and especially, you know, you put your time and your money into it to see your friends and see all the bands you go and see, whether it is a big band or whether it's a small band. I would go in there first thing, leave last, because it's the bands need that credibility, they need that attention, they need that fans to actually give that recognition, like we spoke about earlier. Even if label companies do not see that that big hit, so it's going to be something that I'm going to ask now is basically, do you think touring is going to be really worth it to go to these shows, especially when there's always going to be a concern about the day of the show? Like, for example, I think it was Stillbirth, like all the guys from Farvardenia and all that, like came into like UK for the week. Like Manchester, it was on a Monday, I believe, and Manchester normally has a big scene, big crowds, big people. There's a lot of people we both know mutually in Manchester, and there was only about, I think that Lucas said 35 people on a Monday in Manchester. I was so surprised about it. London was so big. It was about 120. It was like a day event for sure. Or maybe it was a Sunday. Sunday it was in Manchester, I think, and then Monday was at Brighton. But basically, it's just like we've just mentioned, it's really dependable on the day of the show, and it depends on the day of the week. Is it really necessary to do all these tourings? Because you're going to be thinking through the back of your mind that no matter what day we go to, sometimes we're always going to have that small local show fan base, because it's just not worth it, and it's not worth the money,
Well, if you're going to do a tour, you're definitely going to have some of those days, if you're in the underground scene, that there's just going to be 6 people showing up on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, we've played that as well, but in the end, it's still better than having a day off, because, for example, when you have your day off, you go out and you spend money, and when you play a show, you're just going to hang around the venue all day.
Yeah.
And you get catering there, for example. So
yes.
Money-wise, it's better to play anything than nothing on the tour.
Yeah.
And still, I have the experience that if there's just that amount of people, especially in the UK, because we had this similar experience in the UK when we were touring with Korpse.
Yeah.
We also played in the weekend, and some days it was packed, and some days there were just 5 people.
Yeah.
But those 5 people went crazy. So that, yeah, I'd rather have 5 people go fucking crazy and break down the venue than 100 people just standing still watching you like some kind of painting,
Yeah.
Because that's also a lot of times other places in Europe, the spoiled places, that people are just gonna watch you and don't do anything, just stand there like, could also stay at home and listen to the CD.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen videos from various bands that go to tour in Europe, for example. It's batshit crazy over there. It's absolutely manic over there, and I'm jealous, because I feel like I should have the same energy going to the same shows every time in Europe, because in UK it's kind of like, well, I suppose it's the same thing with UK as well, because it depends on the bands, like we've discussed about. It's just it's all that energy. It's all about having that energy. It's having that vibe. It's having that connection, and it's really, really questionable, and it's really, really difficult if we don't get that same energy and same vibe. I remember Korpse came into Leeds, and this was in the Slamfest UK show, and this was fucking hell. This was probably, was it 3-4 years ago? I think it was something like that, wasn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah,
I can't remember, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, and that event was absolutely manic. Like, it was a full house event, and it was absolutely crazy. And it was the first time I went to Leeds, bear in mind. And I thought to myself, there's no way that whole show is going to be full of a crowd. No way whatsoever. But good thing you didn't play inside the what's it called, the meat house, because that was absolutely tiny compared to the one you did on the main show. I mean, Steelbuff played on the meat house, the tiny event. It was absolutely crazy. I shit you not, man. And it's nice. It's nice to actually go to these specific events or these specific venues, and that has that small capacity of like 150. Like in London, the Black Heart, where there was only about 150 people in the venue. But it's also nice to as well to have a capacity of 50 people that can go batshit crazy, And So with that being asked as well, has there been any touring disasters for you guys at all when you've been doing shows or like being on the road? Because, you know, there's always going to be some midlife crisis for bands, especially with big bands like Full of Hell or any other bands that had their fans being smashed and, you know, equipment's been stolen, merch has been like, I don't think merch was stolen, but the point is, you know, equipment, a lot of money on all these vehicles getting smashed and stolen, and, you know, it's not fantastic, man, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally know what you mean. Luckily, we never really had that experience that stuff got stolen, because we are always very careful with our gear. Like, if we sleep at somebody's grandma on the 5th floor in a flat, we take the whole van out and we bring everything of value inside, and we're not going to leave it in the van, for example. But I also know, other bands that did make this mistake, and then all the whole lineup and rig just got stolen, and that's really shitty. But luckily, we never had that experience. And also with shows, never really had like bad crowds that were fighting or something. Actually, one time in Belgium, there was like a small fight, but I think somebody was just crowd killing somebody else, and then shit happens, you know. And, you can't worry about that. But besides that, I think everything always works out somehow. And yeah, it's not always going to be great, to tell you honest, but you always have to make the best from it.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have to be the best of it, because it's like you just mentioned, it is really shitty when stuff gets stolen. Like, I think there's a lot of it happens in America than compared to Europe or UK for sure. But it's every situation, but every band that has their stuff stolen or had anything impacted like this, or even be on the road where vehicle get busted up, tires have to change, or the engine's blown up to bits, and you're stranded in the middle of a road, like Visual Disgorge did many years ago. Touring, I think it's from Canada to North America or something like that. I don't know, but it was really shitty. So it's kind of like lucky. It's kind of like a blessing in disguise for you guys, really, and especially when it hasn't happened. And touch wood, it won't happen, because, you know, no bands or nobody deserves it. You know, even the venue events that holds the shows or anything like that, they don't deserve to get the equipment stolen or damaged or anything like that, you know. And I think it's going to be really, really bad if stuff like that does happen, especially with all the bands that we do know, and they're going to be struggling to actually replace the equipment they have to pay for in the first place to actually get the money that they need, because the economy at the moment is really, really bad, especially for all the countries, especially with this pandemic going around. But I'm going to ask as well next is basically with this COVID-19 going around, and there's a lot of speculation. So this is your own opinion. I'm not asking like a straightforward yes or no question. So basically, at this current time, COVID-19 is making shows impossible to happen, especially with everywhere that's going around. This virus is making people sick, dead, and, you know, it's all very awful. Do you really think there's going to be any shows whatsoever this year? Because I really don't believe there's going to be. And if it does, do you think it's going to be really strict restrictions to actually make it happen? Because I don't really see that happening at all.
I think it's going to be really hard to keep it under control. And I'm pretty sure that this year we won't see any shows. I really hope, of course, that we can still make Dead Feast, for example. But to be honest, I don't think it's actually going to happen. Yeah. But every negative thing has its positives, because I think next year, when shows will be allowed again, we have so many shows to choose from, so we can go everywhere where we want. Yep. And that's just going to be beautiful, and people are going to be really excited to go everywhere. So I think it will come way stronger out of this whole situation. And also because a lot of bands right now, they can't play shows, so the only way to reach their fans is to bring out new music. So it means everybody will do releases, everybody will be doing tours next year. Yeah. So yeah, there will be demand, and maybe there will be some smaller venues that have to close down, unfortunately. But there's always going to be somebody that wants to make shit happen. So I think we're going to be all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of us, apparently there was a research that obviously there's 7% of the world population is obviously, you know, it's just gone. You know, they're not going to come back. And it's really unfortunate, especially the condolences of all the people that have suffered the loss of the loved ones and, you know, and their families. And it's really, really shit. And I know, and you probably have friends as well that has that impact already. And it's really, really bad. I personally don't think there's going to be any shows this year either. I know there's people trying to be like, oh, well, we shouldn't be going realistic and everything, you know, and, you know, we try to stay positive. The main positive thing for me is it should not happen this year, strictly because if shows start happening again, which apparently these government policies are starting to ease the lockdown a little bit, which I don't think it shouldn't happen by any means. If, let's say, the shows do continue, like later in the year, you know, things are going to be fine. What if the restriction is going to have to be, you have to be 2 meters apart from everybody? And especially the lowering down the capacity of, or let's say, I don't know what venue I could say specifically, but let's just say you got a venue of 200 people. You're going to have to put 200 meters of, 2 meters square of every person. You might have to lower it down by maybe half of the people, so that's 100 people. And that's going to cost a lot of money for promoters to pay the bands for the shows, for the venue day, and, you know, it's going to cost so much money for the organizers. It's still going to cost you guys to cost a lot of money to get there, especially when it comes to you need the money for food, you guys need for fuel, let's just say beers and everything. You know, it's just basically just like a day out, for example. You need that money to pay back. And you still need the money to actually play for the show, even if it did happen. I've seen so many good shows that have been cancelled this year. I've seen festivals are cancelling this year, especially in Europe. I have seen Death East Open Air are kind of still trying to be active, and you know it's really nice to see that Lucas and the team are doing their best, especially following the government's procedures. But I said to myself, I'm not going to go. I'm going to sell my ticket, even if it's still going to continue. But if they say, for example, that it's not going to happen, they're going to reschedule the show for next year, keep the lineup as much as possible. Even if some of the bands can't make it next year, they will just have to find replacements, which I'm sure that won't be a problem. I think, in my opinion, the show's going to have to be rescheduled. I think it would be the best sensible way to do it, especially if the lockdown is just going to be like this for the rest of the year. But I think really it's going to depend on how people are going to react, and it depends on how people are going to follow procedure after this ease of lockdown starting on Sunday. That's what I've been told from our country. There's going to be some rules on Sunday about procedures. I think more shops are going to be open, but I think the shops are going to have to be really strict of allowing how many people are allowed to come in and come out. I'm sure that's going to be like that in Germany as well. I think
actually started this week already here.
Really?
Yeah, from what I heard from friends who had to get back to work. Who also work in shops, they said like, yeah, starting from this week, they're gonna do like half days, and then a limited amount of people will be allowed to go in. But I still think that we should keep to lockdown rules for now, because every time it goes a little bit better, they want to open everything again and make everything easier for people. But then again, the curve goes up, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's better to just keep it for a while like this. I know it's shitty for everybody.
Yep.
Everybody is miserable in the house. But yeah, if we want to continue a normal lifestyle, I think we should just lay low for a while and yeah, just give it time.
Yeah, I think I do agree on that. I think people do need to stay at home much as possible. I know it's fucking difficult. I live in a housing association community where there's 31 people of residents, you know, and I'm one of the folks who's unfortunately still working, still exposing, and, you know, compared to most of the people that are actually staying at home, it's really hard. I know it's so fucking difficult to actually not go out, not socialize. And even if you had to socialise, pubs are shut. You can't go get a haircut. You can't actually allow to go to the walk to a park without being stopped by the police. There's going to be these policies are still going to carry on until things are back to normal very, very slowly. And I do agree. I think we do need to stay on lockdown for a bit more longer, just so that people can just say, you know what, this was probably the best idea compared to just risking our lives. Because, again, 7% of the people of the mass population obviously passed away. And if people ignore these policies or these conditions or the protocols, it's going to get much worse. I mean, it's just going to be ridiculous if people keep continuing. I've had affairs of people outside the garden just enjoying themselves where they shouldn't be doing it, especially not interacting with other people. But some people are going to listen, some people are not going to listen, and it's the way of life, and there's always going to be like that with some people. But let's just cast aside now from this COVID-19 thing, because I know it's fucking terrible, and I know most people don't want to speak about that. So let's go back a little bit with the touring life, basically. Do you have any recommendations for any new fans, or not new fans, sorry, new bands who are going to be touring once in a while? Do you have any tips for them to say, you know what, just keep low of your laundry much as possible, like don't carry so much luggage, and
less is more. That's the only thing I have to say. No, like, just, I don't know, take one shirt and wear that on stage the whole time until it stands by itself after the couple weeks of touring, No, you can take as much as you want as long as you have space in the van. Like, just know how much space you have in the van, because we also had the experience that vans were arranged, but then it was basically going to be 2 sprinters for 4 bands, and the back, the luggage would only fit for maybe some guitars and amps, and then you have like still merch for 4 bands. So we unfortunately had to bring 1 extra car of our own during the whole tour, which is also, again, extra hassle, extra gas money. And the car in general is going to run God knows how many kilometers. So those are things that you really should keep in mention. And also, what's really important, what we learned last year, check the weight of the car. We did a tour with Extermination Dismember Band last year, a Europe tour, and we provided a van from Holland. And normally we don't have that big vans in Holland because this one has a lot of loading space. And apparently at the last day of the tour, we figured out that as soon as you have people plus the stuff you carry in the van, it was overloaded. You're not allowed to drive anywhere, actually. And only our last show in Switzerland, we got checked and weighed, and then they decided that we couldn't go in. Luckily, Extermination still could make it because they got picked up by Carnifloor because they were also on the tour, and they had to fly back from Switzerland anyway. But for the amount of time that we would have to get like a different van and leave that van at the border, take another van, load all the gear up and back and forth, and it was like an afternoon shoot. It was like starting at 4 or something. We unfortunately didn't make it, but would have been nice to know that when we left from France in the morning, because basically we were just driving all day, and then it was like, no, you can't come in, go back to Holland. So that was kind of shitty, but luckily it was on the last day of the tour and not on the first day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's always a good thing that it was the last day of the tour. I mean, it's especially when the Stillbirth, Plantar Power Fist, and obviously Incarnation did a whole big package of touring for like, I think it was 3-4 weeks of touring. There's so many people. Lucas had to use 2 lorries, 2 vans to actually get a lot of people in those vans, and the merch was so fucking massive. I think it was just a good thing I was not in there, because it was just going to be too much to handle, and especially when they got stopped once or twice or something like that, and then they had to take trains and stuff like that. That was just too much. But so that now basically I'm going to ask is, what's been your favorite show? Like, have you had any ones to be remembered by? Do you have many that's been like a very decent show that you think is like, it's been fucking awesome, especially with the package that you've been in, with the bands that you've been touring with? Yeah, what's been your favorite, man?
A couple favorites, definitely. Of course, That Feast is the number one.
Yeah.
I came there since 2014, I think.
Yeah.
The first time I played there with Fermented Masturbation. Since then, I went there every year because I was playing, and otherwise I would go anyway because it's the best festival, period.
Yeah.
It's small, you have everything you need. There's a fucking pool next door, and it's just the best, man. Best music. Everything is organized so well. Then I have to say the first tour we did with Extermination Dismemberment in 2018. Sorry, that one was really awesome. We went to so many cool places, and we got to know the guys. We became really good friends with them. It was just a lot of fun. And so I think definitely That Feast always, and that particular tour was just so many crazy shit was happening. We just had a blast.
Yeah, That Feast is definitely my favorite. Every time I go to Germany, the scenery is beautiful. I love the local place they organize. Especially there's a swimming pool in there, there's a big one. It's really good, especially full of metalheads. It's good to actually socialize with them as well, and just to get to know them as well, because the first time I went to Death Feast opener, and Ness was got there the day before the festival even started. I met two people from Switzerland, and it was just basically before my birthday. I got completely hammered, got a hangover. I blacked out. I vomited pretty much the whole pub area in the toilet room and everything. That was a nightmare, but there was photos evidence on that as well, so that was fucking nice. But yeah, Death Feast is really cool, man. I mean, there's a lot of people that internationally. I like all the people from Europe. I know you from Europe. I know there's many people from Europe. I love Europe. I love going to Death Feast. But this year's going to be a little bit tricky, but hopefully next year it's going to be something that people want to remember. They want to go back there again, and actually, even if the lineup is still the same, people are going to be wondering, what happened next year? What happened last year? Nobody remember. Nobody
know. I've heard actually from people that even if it doesn't continue, they will still go there just to do the Parkbanksaufen. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a game they play during the festival. Just playing. I'm still to this day not sure how the game works, but basically they're throwing darts at each other and they drink a shitload of beer, and people get naked at some point. But that is probably still going to happen, even if that feast isn't happening. So who knows? Maybe I'll just go there and pack my tent and camp in the nature. I don't know.
Camping for no reason except just having fun, which would be very nice for everybody. But I think for me, staying at home and staying much as possible away from people is going to be the optional idea for me. Especially you don't want to definitely throw darts on you, and that be fucking shitty experience, even if we're having this COVID-19 charade. So now we've got quite a while until we finish, but basically I want to do like a plug-in support for bands that do need the recognition, like bands that you are in and bands that we both know that do need the big fan base, because this is an underground podcast where now it's a big opportunity, not just for me to actually get the recognition, it's for the bands that needs the recognition as well. So I think, this is the right time for it. And I know Korpse are a big band. They're getting recognized a lot. Definitely listen to Korpse if you haven't. If you're new to the music scenery, if you're new to the brutal death metal scenery, Korpse are fucking brutal. They've got 2 albums, and as you're saying, there's the possibility the third one might be coming out this year. If not, it will definitely be next year. Your project, so Carnifloor, is going to be out this year as well, if it's a possibility. your other two bands that you're going to be doing as well, that's going to be a possibility. So you're definitely in a lot of bands. That's very nice that you're still active with them. But let's just touch on the bands that, let's say, people don't know. What recommendations can you give to people?
Definitely, if you like beatdown, check out Repressed. They're a beatdown band from Germany. They just came up, fucking sick. Just really heavy stuff. They reached out to me and we talked, and I heard their stuff, and it's fucking amazing. So definitely check out Repressed Hardcore. Then, as I see in the back, you have that flag hanging there from Corporal Cephalic Mutation. Shout out to them, because they're fucking sick.
Shout out to Sam, you know, he's doing a lot of work with the band, and especially with this new album, the new EP he just released with, I think it was, I can't remember the vocalist's name, but basically, I think it was Brandon or something. Sam's doing a lot of work with his band, and he's doing so hard, and he's doing so well with it, especially in Manchester scenery. I love the band, and you know, it's really fucking dope. Go and listen to the band. Yeah. Any more recommendations?
There's a new project coming out from the guy who is responsible for Guttural Slug. He also plays in Septic Congestion. Okay. His new project is called Esophagectomy, if I'm pronouncing that right. Okay. It's going to be, I think, a 5-track EP, but also a lot of guest vocals. I'm mastering that one as well, and it sounds super sick, so make sure to check that out. I think it's going to be out on Brutal Mind Records. Okay. Then, I don't know if you know Distant by any chance?
Distant? Yeah, I love Distant. They're good guys.
Yeah, shout out to them. They're also from Holland. We played a couple times with them, and yeah, they're just really sick guys, man. Like, they bring quality music, and it's just a great overall band, man. Also, when you got the chance to see them live, do it. They ripped off Dead Feast last year, if I'm remember correctly.
I think it was last year. I think I was not there, but it was definitely I think I was there. It was last year. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fucking sick. So definitely check them out. Then for myself, as I said, foes, fuck off, eat shit with all the X's in between. It's grindcore power violence. We just released our EP. It will be released again on cassette if anybody has any cassette players left. Together also with Repressed from Germany and Lashing Out from the UK. We will be all on this cassette run, which will be released by 7 Alpha Records. So definitely check that out. Look forward to the full-length Jill album. Check out our EP. Not sure if we will release that this year, but we're definitely going to try to make the best of it and try to release it this year. And besides that, I can't really think of many bands off the top of my mind right now.
Yeah. No, I think most people know all these big bands are starting to become a big horizon, especially in Europe. Like, many people are still keeping in touch with it, especially with like Extermination, Dismemberment, Korpse, Carnifloor, Decay, Pie Cannon, for example, Cerebral Implication. You know, all these bands that people are kind of starting to become a little bit aware, but let's just say basically the mainstream media does not understand it, you know. So we're going to ask 2 more questions, and then this is going to be a wrap. With this mainstream media, do you really think they should actually pay more attention to the underground scenery? Because I understand this whole population with music media, with mainstream media, is really big. Really big. Like, top 40 music hits, it's all pop, it's all rap and everything, you know. It's all fantastic, but I think personally, when it comes to like, they should really pay attention to the underground scenery, because you know, they don't get the big opportunities. Like, there were bands like Metallica and Big Slayer and all that lot that were really small bands once upon a time, and they actually got really interested by mainstream media. I know for a fact our genre interest of music taste is a bit different when it comes to like getting all these mainstream media folks to like it, but maybe they should start understanding the fact that it is music, and it's actually giving a big horizon for all these people to actually love, because there's a lot of projects that people are doing. There's always going to be a big crowd of people of underground scenery that actually do support, that are actually very friendly people and all that sorts. Like, we're not really very foul. We're not very grumpy folks. We're not going to rip everybody's heads off like, all the artwork covers that we can see. I know my mum, for example, would be like, "Oh, what's this? You're wearing shirts that's actually ripping people's heads off, or just gore and everything." But it is art and it's music. It's not like it's going to be anything like personal. So really,
no, you don't think horror movies personal, right? It's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Exactly. And really, I'm just going to ask, do you really think mainstream media just actually should be paying attention to this? Because at the end of the day, we're all making life, we're all making music, we should be given the opportunity because, we're putting our time and effort into it, and we actually do care about making sure fans' expectations are high. Even if we don't play the big venues like we all want to go to and, actually want to play like in front of like 200,000 people, we all want to do that for sure. But really, I think mainstream media should actually be paying attention, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's still a lot of jewels that you can find in all the whole underground scene. And yeah, if the mainstream people will see that, they definitely will get a good taste of what we're all about and what we're doing. I know that there's a lot of people are really working on this, trying to get everything as big as possible and gain a lot of exposure for the whole underground scene. But yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely. There's a lot more cool stuff to discover, give people the chance. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know we got bands like Cow Decapitation, for example. They were a small band, and now they're a big band from death metal scenery, and they're getting that recognition. Decapitation from Poland, they actually getting that big recognition as well.
Yeah.
There's definitely there are, as you said, some gems that actually can be recognized, and actually they can actually push the media mainstream actually skyrocket if you give them an opportunity. So I got one more question. We know that you like music, and we know that you like to play guitars, and you like to do all this stuff. And you just mentioned a while ago that you do mastering of music, along with just doing album mixings and all the work in the studio. Yeah. You got a new studio, haven't you?
Yeah, that's right. I just started Gold Chain Studios this year. Basically, at the moment, I just do mixing and mastering. So if anybody has something, send it over. I'll try to make the best of it as possible. I'm working on some really cool projects at the moment. Can't tell you what they are, unfortunately, but you will definitely see them coming anytime soon, hopefully in this year. And yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still building my portfolio. Next to just mastering, mixing and mastering, I also do graphic design. So if you need your layout done for your CD or your Facebook page or whatever, I do all that stuff. So yeah. Just trying to get the word out there. Gold Chain Studios.
Yep, definitely. I mean, I'm going to leave a description of the studio you're in. Basically, it is basically for any band that do want to get this stuff done, especially if they want to release new music. I know I've got friends from other studios, they do want that recognition as well. And basically, I am going to hit up on every people that do work on the studios as well to get the recognition they deserve as well. Not just you. I mean, other people need the opportunity. Everyone needs that attention. Everyone needs to get that business growing. And some people have that business growing for quite a while. They have for many years. And, the ones that do need that little boost, that lifting thing, opportunity, It does work, and this is the platform for it. So, it is a really big platform, and this is going to be a platform where I am going to be wanting to try reach to people's expectations. I'm not here to try and take things for granted. Like, I do want to take things for granted in a way that this whole Underground Scenery podcast is a big opportunity for people that have not heard of the underground scenery before, that have not heard of these studio projects before. This is an opportunity for like metalheads to actually start recognizing that we're not all here to be like dickheads or piece of shit. You know, we got an opportunity to be nice to one another. You know, especially with this situation that we're going around. People need to be nice to each other, and the best way to do it is actually listen to the podcast. You know, and it's actually get an idea to hear what people's opinions are like, especially when it comes to touring, because just to clarify, it's just I go to shows and I take people's equipment because I'm just a nice guy, and I know people do that as well, but it's about getting engaged with people and actually supporting one another and actually be friendly with one another, not be an absolute wanker to everybody, you know. But yeah, this is pretty much going to be the end of the podcast. Floor, it's been absolutely amazing honor to have you in the podcast for the first episode. I am really, really happy to have you in here. You were pretty much the first person to ask me, you know what, I want to get on there, you know, let's do it. Let's get this started, you know. And I thought this was the best way to start, with a blast. And, you know, it's been fantastic, man. It's really good to interact with you, you know. It's been really nice to...
Likewise, man. I'm honored that you got me on this. Likewise, man. Thanks again for the opportunity. It was really awesome. I just got one more band that I also wanted to now add to that list that we were talking about earlier.
Feel free.
Called Post-Mortal Possession from the US. They just dropped 2 new singles, I guess, and they will drop their full-length album True Lord of the Sick recording this year, and that is definitely worth checking out. Yeah,
most definitely. And I know there are some music being played in Slam Worldwide community, but I try and stay away from that shit, basically, and, you know, it's just not worth it, in my opinion. And I know there's been people inviting me to the Slam Worldwide community, but it's not my thing. I've got influences, I've got friends behind everywhere, and I've got all the music I need to listen to, you know. But no, I mean, I'm very chill to basically give my ears an open to any genres, especially with like hardcore bands that you do, or maybe some bands that are kind of beat down bands, you know. But basically, it's been an interesting experience for sure. But no, this has really been cool, bro. I mean, I'm really happy to have you on the podcast for sure. I am sure that we are most likely going to do another one in the future when things go completely back to normal. Like if Death Feast does come and open again next year, and if you are going to be there, maybe we'll try and get back to catch up in the podcast and just see how things are going on. You know, it's always good to have people back in the podcast to actually keep things updated. You know, this is the platform to give people the recognition, and it's also give people the opportunity to have a chat, especially with this COVID-19 situation. And this is going to be pretty much the end of the podcast, where I'm just going to give the final message. COVID-19 is very, very fucking serious. COVID-19 is not a very easy thing to take into threat. I know people want to go out. I know people want to socialize. I've got families that want to be meeting up together and have socializing gatherings, have barbecues, parties, birthday gatherings, and all that sorts. And I know everybody wants to do it. I really do. And I can feel the tension. I can feel the frustration from everybody's minds. And I know for a fact that people like myself, that if you go to work, they feel exposed. It's really bad for me. And I know for a fact if like, say, for example, you're at home, especially you as well, Floor, if you're at home and you're really frustrated about wanting to go out and actually see your friends again, get drunk again, and all that sorts, but you can't. It's just something we need to be patient with. It's something that we need to really wait for. I know everyone wants to do it, but at the end of the day, things take time, and it will be worth it once everything gets back to normal, I assure you. At the end of the day, people are going to be wanting to do it without listening to the government's opinions or listen to the government at all. That's completely fine, but beware of the consequences or the repercussions. You're going to be risking other people, not just you. There's going to be people that you socialize with. It's going to be very, very dangerous. But yeah, that's going to be the last message I want to really spread on. Again, it's been an absolute pleasure, my man. I mean, it's been fucking cool. I really am glad that, we've got in touch and we actually started doing this. I'm really happy. and I'm sure we will speak again about the new music that you guys are going to be releasing. And it'd be very cool to actually leave some descriptions on the message after this session about all the bands that you just gave a shout out and all the studios that you've done, so we can actually keep it spreading, keep the whole attention going around for sure. So that's it. Appreciate it, bro. All right, thank you very much.
Likewise, man.
And I'll say thank you for everyone who's coming to the podcast. I will be releasing this whenever, as soon as possible. But the next episode is going to be with Chris Clark from Waking the Carnifloor and Hate Diplomacy. It should be released on Sunday, I should hope, if nothing gets too carried away with work. But I think things are going to be completely fine. Anyway, thank you, bro. Honestly, appreciate it. All right?
No worries, man. Anytime.
All right. Sweet.
All right. Take care, man.
And you too.
Thanks.